Welcome to another series of the Apostles' Teaching.
There were two categories of angels manifested in this piece that I just read. The duty of the cherubim is to function, to minister, and to protect the glory of God. And that's why in Ezekiel's vision of glory, you will see the most graphic colors of the cherubims revealed in that context. Are you there? The other messenger that looked like a man is another angel from the department of inventory. There are sometimes God will dispatch some angels. These ones come to take record. They come with their notebook. Especially the one that is sent to bring inventory about the administration of your life. So he comes to church before you come. And then he's waiting for you to come. Then you don't get to come, so he records it and say, well, unfortunately, he was not here. Was not here. That's the angel of inventory. And there are inventories about individuals, there are inventories about cities, there are inventories about leaders. I don't have time to go into all of that. But when you walk into the realm of the spirit, you will discover that there was no secret about your life that was not chronicled. Even your secret thoughts. When you felt like doing that person something terrible, they will say, okay, at this time, he has a tendency for murder. So that's an inventory angel. Came into the presence of God to take instructions from God to take inventory. If we go to chapter 11, which I don't want to go to, you will see the inventory that he went to take in the city. God was about to bring destruction to the city, but they need to take inventory of how many righteous people are still there. So he's dispatched, he goes into the city from house to house. So, oh no, this guy, he recovered his remains from the nightclub yesterday night. He's not. May the Lord give you understanding. All right, so that's not the angel that I came to talk about. But you will notice something. The glory of God that Ezekiel was trained to be able to discern, it normally sits on the cherubims. That glory left the platform of the cherubims and he now stood on the threshold of the house. Are you with me? It means God was staging a departure from Israel. So the original place where you will find the glory of God sitting in the Holy of Holies, the glory had lifted from the mercy seat and it was hanging on the threshold of the house. Are you still with me? Come with me. Verse 18, let's trace that glory. There is an aspect that we cannot talk about. It will take too much time. Verse 18. Then the glory of the Lord departed off the threshold of the house and stood over the cherubims. 19. And the cherubims lifted up their wings and mounted up from the earth in my sight. Are you following? See, the glory moved and stood over the threshold of the house. God was waiting if there was an intercessor in the realm that could plead with him not to depart. Nobody did anything. So the glory now left the threshold and the cherubims flew and the glory rested upon them and they departed. That was how the glory left Jerusalem. And the moment the glory left Jerusalem, it was exposed to ruin It was exposed to destruction. In fact, it became rubble eventually. When Ezekiel was 50 years old, because there were 3 seasons of prophecy that Ezekiel gave. 3 seasons. The first season was for 3 years. After 3 years, he became mute. He didn't have any counsel of God again until another season opened. The first season, he prophesied about the destruction of Jerusalem. Then he became mute, waiting to align with divine timing on the calendar of God. Then he was given utterance again. He began to prophesy about the restoration of Jerusalem. Then when he was 50 years old, he began to prophesy about a new temple that was never built. He prophesied about a new civilization that was going to rise from the ruins of Israel. And I don't have time to show you that the political map of Israel changed in that new configuration that the man saw. The place where Zabulon was in the previous map was no longer where Zabulon was in this new civilization. And I need to take us quickly to show us the crowning element of this new civilization that Ezekiel saw in his apocalyptic vision. Come with me to the book of Ezekiel. Are you there? Ezekiel chapter 48. Ezekiel chapter 48. If you begin to read from verse 30, it begins to tell us about the gates that were in the new city that was built. But over and above the infrastructure, the layout, the topography, there was a final element that was a crowning element of this new civilization. And it's in the last verse of Ezekiel chapter 48. It was round about 18,000 measures. And the name of that city from that day shall be, the Lord is there. That means that glory that escaped. This is what we call Jehovah Shammah. The Lord is there. The glory that he saw depart was not just going to be restored. The glory was going to be there. Part of the new civilization that God was constructing. If you check your Bible critically, you're going to find 12 unique revelations of God the Father captured in the Old Testament. And Jehovah Shammah of Ezekiel chapter 48 verse 35 is the last of such 12 revelations. The Lord is there. This seems to be a description of the reality that God has granted his church. Because when the glory of God, are you there? Departed from the house of Israel, God could no longer bear the name Emmanuel in their midst, because he was not in their midst. But a new day was going to come where the description of the people of God cannot be separated or dissociated from the glory of God that is in their midst. That's where we are today. The Lord, he is here. It will interest you to know, before we go into, I'm attempting to bring you back from the market, back to church. That's why I'm going here. It will interest you to know that if you want to understand the wars of Israel, you will need to know that the army of Israel were not just made of physical soldiers. There was a supernatural army that was coordinating with the physical army. Joshua was a general, a warlord. It was him that God had ordained to recover territory that God has allocated to the tribes of Israel. So he was going to do battle to evict the occupants of those territories so that the piece of real estate can be reallocated. And then he came and was confronted with the edifice that was built in the name of the walls and the gates of Jericho. You see, the architectural design of the wall of Jericho was the height of human genius at the time. The wall was a cuboid. Oh my God. I don't know if they still make cubes of sugar. In the 80s, we had something called a cube of sugar. Do they still make the cubes? So the young ones don't know what we mean by a cube of sugar. The wall was a cuboid. So if you push the wall and it falls this way, it will still be the same height it was when it was standing this way. If you push it and it falls this way, it will still be the same height because it's a cuboid. And the meaning of that is that it was designed as a military defense system that no human tactic can breach. So there was no need for you to confront Jericho because you can't take Jericho. And when the general, Joshua, came to take inventory of what they were up against, because God insisted that Jericho must be taken, he checked the walls and saw how fortified the fortress was. There was no trick of military tactics that you could adopt to take that city. He decided to leave the camp to go meditate. And when he left the camp to go meditate, God now felt, let's help this boy. Let's help him. Because all of his calculations were based on the fact that it is me and my army that will fight this battle. So let's help this boy. Let's help him. So God opened his eyes to see the captain of the angelic side of the same army. I know you are not with me, but I'm trying to bring you back. He had to open his eyes to see that there was a spiritual side to our wars. And that was why Moses will pray a prayer and say, if you will not go with us, if your immortal dimension will not become the reality that travels with us overhead, no need for us to go. Even though God told him that, well, I will send an angel. He says, we are not about to move now, because those were men that understood that the reason for victory was not tactics and brute strength. It was rooted in the spiritual context that was over the nation. So God wanted to help the young general. And the angel came to him. And he spoke like a general. So are you for us or against us? Because he's not used to dealing with the immortal dimension. And the angel cleared his doubt. He said, nay, I'm not for you and I'm not against you. But as a captain of the Lord's armies, am I come? I received direct instruction from the Lord. As it stands now, I don't even know where you stand. If I see you on the day of battle, you are doing something that looks like you are cooperating with the marching orders I receive from the Lord, I will be on your side. If we get to the battlefront and I see you doing something contrary to the marching orders I receive, you will be the first to fall by my sword. That was what he was telling him. The spiritual company that travels with the people under the government of God do not receive instructions from you. As long as you are in alignment with the ultimate.
The instruction of the Lord is perfect, renewing one's life. The testimony of the Lord is trustworthy, making the inexperienced wise.